Yes, kitty. Get your ass out of my face. Noir. Kitty. Time for me to get up. Babylon 5. It was their last best hope for peace. It was a place where humans and aliens could work out their differences and settle things peacefully. Now, it is only a tale. Yes. Well, would you look at that? Sun's coming up. One year ago, on May 5th, 2018, I began to talk about the series Babylon 5, which was created by J. Michael Straczynski. And I first talked about Babylon 5 with the television film pilot, Babylon 5, The Gathering. And throughout the months, I've been talking about the first, second, third, and fourth season of Babylon 5, as well as the television films and the spin-off series Crusade. I now have one review left to talk about Babylon 5. And that is me talking about the fifth and final season of Babylon 5. And I deemed it was appropriate for me to talk about the final season of Babylon 5 on May 5th, 2019, which is a Sunday. When I reviewed the fourth season of Babylon 5, I mentioned there were production issues when the fourth season was in production. And this was because J. Michael Straczynski was faced with a situation that Babylon 5 would prematurely end one season short from its intended direction. As the fourth season of Babylon 5 was about to finish filming, TNT went and picked up Babylon 5 for another season, therefore making J. Michael Straczynski's vision of a 5-season show come to fruition, although not the way he planned. And it's very evident in the first half of the final season of Babylon 5, and J. Michael Straczynski even got on record by saying that that particular process in writing that first half was very frustrating, and I can tell. Now, if you went into the final season without knowing the production issues with seasons 4 and 5 of Babylon 5, then I would understand you would feel somewhat frustrated with the odd direction that the final season seems to be starting off with. Although, I do acknowledge that the telepath arc could have been handled better. Another thing that helped me forgive the shortcomings of Babylon 5's final season is the second half of Babylon 5. There are great moments in the second half of this final season. If you saw one of my past reviews of Babylon 5, I mentioned that Londa Mollari and G'Kar are fascinating characters. Let's just say they did not disappoint in the final season of Babylon 5. There is a new face for the final season of Babylon 5, and that is Elizabeth Lockley, played by Tracy Scoggins. But wait, where's Claudia Christian as Susan Ivanova? Well, because of her contract, she couldn't make it into the final season of Babylon 5. Although, given how the fourth season of Babylon 5 ends, I don't really mind 95% of Claudia Christian's absence in the final season of Babylon 5. And yes, you heard me right, 95% absent in the final season. She actually has an appearance in the final episode of Babylon 5. More on that in a moment. I would like to take a moment to toast those who are absent in memory still bright. To Richard, to Jeff, to Stephen, to Jerry, to Andreas, and to Michael. I think it's time I talk about the final episode of Babylon 5. Now, I can assure you there's no major spoilers on what I'm talking about here. But yes, they did film this episode during the production of Season 4, but was ultimately pushed back for Season 5, which turned out to be the final season of Babylon 5. And I'm glad J. Michael Straczynski was hell-bent on saving this episode for last, because it really is a fitting end to Babylon 5. When a show has a good story to tell, as well as having well-written characters and that good story, naturally it is hard to say goodbye to characters that you have grown to love throughout the show's production. And the final episode of Babylon 5 is one of the best series finales I have ever witnessed. It was also quite difficult. I teared up over this finale, and for a show like Babylon 5 to have things continuously be interesting for 5 straight seasons, as well as having a lot of characters to get attached to, I do think the emotional moments are well warranted for a show like Babylon 5. And the series finale is the only episode in Babylon 5 to be directed by its showrunner J. Michael Straczynski, and I am pleased to see that he was able to end his 5-year magnum opus in his own terms. He also delivered the fitting end that Babylon 5 deserved. Now, while Babylon 5 was met with setbacks, there was one quote that you can take out of this show throughout the entire production of Babylon 5 in retrospect. Faith manages. And it sure did with Babylon 5. As I stated in my review of the 4th season of Babylon 5, nothing's perfect, and I am content with how the 5th season turned out, despite that it was affected by the production setbacks during the production of the 4th season of Babylon 5. The best way to look into the final season of Babylon 5 is this. It does bring closure to Babylon 5 as well as the crew that worked in that station, but also marks new beginnings, which are not integral to the main plot because those new beginnings are left to your interpretation as you ponder about the entire series. If a reboot or remake is ever attempted for Babylon 5, I really think they should not go for it, because I don't think there should be another Babylon 5. I am content with how the series turned out. This is J. Michael Straczynski's magnum opus. It is a show that has changed some viewers, including myself. For a show like Babylon 5 having a low budget, but also having impressive computer animation for numerous scenes, for its time in the medium of television, as well as having a compelling story and interesting characters, even with some setbacks in the overall production of the series, I do think Babylon 5 is one of the greatest shows I have ever seen. While Babylon 5's computer-generated effects might seem dated in today's standards, that is not what made Babylon 5 such a great show. What made it great is the writing. That J. Michael Straczynski wrote a lot for this show. Throughout the 110 episodes that make up the 5 seasons of Babylon 5, J. Michael Straczynski wrote 92 of these episodes. And still to this very day, as I am uploading this review, it is rare in television to see a show's creator write more than 3/4 of the entire show. J. Michael Straczynski pitched Babylon 5 as a novel for television, and he structured the entire show as a 5-act story, with each season representing each act, and he wrote 83% of the entire show. He delivered exactly what he pitched, and he hit a home run. I'm going to be shooting a 10 out of 10 for the 5th and final season of Babylon 5. I have gone on record by saying that Avatar: The Last Airbender is my favorite television show of all time. After experiencing all 5 seasons of Babylon 5, including a couple television films that I like to have with it, such as The Gathering and In the Beginning, Avatar: The Last Airbender is no longer my favorite television show. That said, I hereby decree on this channel, it is the year 2019, and my favorite television show of all time is Babylon 5.